Welcome to the Madison Miller Podcast. Today is Friday, November 27th, 2020. Today I'm going to recap yesterday's NFL, college football, and then college basketball from Wednesday and yesterday, and look ahead to today and the weekend's action in all three respective sports. Recap last night's episode of The Masked Singer, and then I'll cap off the Turkey 20 with the remaining 17 picks and my best bet for today. We'll start in the NFL, where there are two interesting games yesterday, and both of them were actually blowouts. The Texans defeated the Lions by a score of 41-25. The Texans are 4-7. Detroit's 4-7. Deshaun Watson 17-25, 318 yards and 4 touchdowns. Matt Stafford 28-42, 295 yards, a touchdown and a pick. The Washington professional football team over the Dallas Cowboys 41-16. Washington 4-7. Dallas is 3-8. Alex Smith 19-26, 149 yards, a touchdown and a pick. Andy Dalton 25-35, 215 yards, a touchdown and a pick. All right, now we'll look ahead to Sunday's games. I am going to do what I normally do. It's funny, I normally don't do NFL first. I normally do college first, but today we're going to change it up and do the NFL first. I'm going to give out actually 16 potentially of my 20 turkey or Thanksgiving turkey 20 picks. We're going to start in the NFL. Arizona at New England. Arizona's giving 1.5. The total is 49.5. Arizona, I have projected as a 3-point favorite. Total 48. I'm going to lay the Cardinals minus 1.5. Larry Fitzgerald has COVID, but I still think they can win this game without him, so give me the Cardinals minus 1.5. Cardinals at the Vikings. Vikings are favored by 3.5, total 51.5. I project the Vikings by 4.5, total 51. I'm taking Minnesota minus the 3.5 because Teddy Bridgewater may not be back yet, and there's no Christian McCaffrey either. Browns at the Jaguars. Browns favored by 1.5, total 49.5. I project the Browns by 9.5, total 48.5. I'm laying the 6.5 with the Browns. Raiders, Falcons. Raiders are favored by 3, total 53.5. I project the Raiders by 2.5, total 55. I'm going to take over 53.5. Chargers, Bills. Bills are favored by 4.5, total 52.5. I project the Bills by 3, total 53. I'm taking the Chargers plus the 4.5. Dolphins at the Jets. The Dolphins are 7-point favorites, total 44.5. I project the Dolphins by 7.5, total 44.5. I'm going to take the Dolphins minus 7 because that's the only play I have a little edge on. Next up, the Giants and the Bengals. Giants are favored by 6, total 44.5. I project the Giants by 4, total 45. I'm taking the Bengals plus 6. The Giants shouldn't be giving that many points on the road. Titans at the Colts. The Colts are 3-point favorites, total 51.5. I project the Colts by 2, total 49. I'm going to take under 51.5. Now we're in the 4 o'clock window. And by the way, Ravens-Steelers line is not posted because we think that game is going to get postponed due to the news that Lamar Jackson has COVID as well as a bunch of other Ravens. So the Ravens have themselves a COVID outbreak. That's unfortunate. 4 o'clock window, Saints-Broncos. Saints are favored by 6, total 43.5. I project the Saints by 2, total 49. I'm going to take the Broncos getting the 6. I just think that Taysom Hill should not be giving that many points on the road. Drew Lock's back, so give me the Broncos plus 6. 49ers, Rams. Rams favored by 6, total 44.5. I project Rams 9, total 45.5. I'm going to lay the 6 with the Rams. Chiefs, Buccaneers. Chiefs are favored by 3.5, total 56. I project the Chiefs by 2.5, total 51.5. I'm going to take the under here. I think that Tampa's defense plays a better game. And then Sunday Night Football, you have the Packers at the Bears. The Packers are laying 8.5, no total on the board due to the injury of Nick Foles. So I think there's still projections going on. But either way, I'm taking the Bears plus the points. That's too many points in a divisional game, even though the Packers are so much better than the Bears. That's just too many points. So give me the Packers plus the 8.5 against the Packers. Okay, now move on to college football from yesterday and look ahead to the weekend's college football games. Obviously, we'll save Monday Night Football for Monday's podcast. So without further ado, yesterday's college football game. Utah State over New Mexico 41-27. Utah State 1-4, New Mexico 0-5. And now we'll look ahead to the games that are being played tomorrow and Saturday. First up, Iowa State at Texas. Texas is favored by a half, so it's essentially a pick'em. Total 57.5. I actually project Iowa State as a 4-point favorite. Total 63. I'm taking Iowa State plus the half. UMass at Liberty. Liberty's favored by 36.5. Total 56.5. I project Liberty by 15. Total 50. I'm taking UMass plus the 36.5. It actually went down a point from yesterday. Nebraska, Iowa. Iowa's giving 14.5, total 53.5. I project Iowa by 6, total 49. I'm taking Nebraska in the 14.5. UCF, South Florida. UCF's giving 24.5, total 67.5. I project UCF by 19.5, total 65.5. I am taking South Florida plus the 25 or 24.5. It went down a half point or a full point from yesterday. Now we're, by the way, in the 3 o'clock window. 3:30 Notre Dame, North Carolina. Notre Dame's giving 5.5, total 68.5. I project Notre Dame by 6, total 62.5. I'm taking the under 68.5. 4 o'clock Central Michigan, Eastern Michigan. Central Michigan's giving 6.5, total 59.5. I project Central by 7, total 65.5. I'm going to take the over in this game, 59.5. Wyoming, UNLV. Wyoming's giving 15.5, total 51.5. I project Wyoming by 3, total 54.5. I'm taking UNLV plus the 15.5. 4:30 Stanford, Cal. Stanford's laying 1.5, total 52.5. I project Stanford by 1.5, total 54. I'm taking over 51.5 in the game. 7:30 Oregon, Oregon State. Oregon's laying 12.5, total 64.5. I project Oregon by 10, total 58.5. I don't love this pick, but I'm taking under 64.5. I just think Oregon's defense is very, very improved this year. All right, Saturday, Ball State, Toledo. Ball State is a 9.5-point underdog, total 64.5. I project Toledo by 3, total 62. I'm taking Ball State in the 9.5. Bowling Green, Ohio. Ohio is laying 23.5, total 54.5. I project Ohio by 6, total 52.5. I'm taking Bowling Green plus the 23.5. Georgia Southern, Georgia State. Georgia Southern's laying 1.5, total 52.5. I project Georgia Southern by 10.5, total 56. I'm laying the points with Georgia Southern. Kent State, Buffalo. Buffalo's laying 7.5, total 67.5. I project Buffalo 1.5, total 68.5. I'm taking Kent State plus the 7.5. Penn State, Michigan. Michigan's laying 1.5, total 57.5. I project Michigan by 5, total 62.5. I'm laying the 1.5 with Michigan. I skipped a couple games. Oops. Maryland, Indiana. Indiana's giving 11.5, total 62.5. I project Indiana by 5, total 59. I'm taking Maryland plus the 11.5 for the podcast, but I also like over 52.5. Oh, it's up to 62.5. That must have been a misprint, so take that back. I just like Maryland now. I didn't realize it was 62.5. I thought it was 52.5. North Carolina State at Syracuse. NC State's giving 15.5, total 50.5. I project NC State by 7.5, total 53. I'm taking Syracuse plus the 15.5. Northern Illinois, Western Michigan. Western Michigan's laying 20.5, total 64.5. I project Western Michigan by 9, total 71. I am taking over 64.5. Ohio State, Illinois. Ohio State's laying 27.5, total 71.5. I project the Buckeyes as 13.5 point favorites, total 60. I'm taking under 71.5. SMU, Eastern Carolina. SMU's laying 13.5, total 67.5. I project SMU by 14, total 64. I'm taking under 67.5, although I don't love that play. Texas Tech, Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State's favored by 10.5, total 53.5. I project the Cowboys by 14.5, total 54.5. I'm laying the 10.5 with Oklahoma State. Vanderbilt, Missouri. Missouri's laying 14.5, total 50.5. I project Missouri by 9, total of 51. I am taking Vandy plus the points. Kentucky, Florida. Florida's laying 25.5, total 61.5. I project Florida by 10.5, total 58.5. I'm taking Kentucky plus the points. 1 o'clock, Miami of Ohio at Akron. Miami of Ohio is giving 14.5, total 55.5. I project Miami of Ohio by 9, total of 64. I am taking the over 55.5 in this one. Next up, UTEP Rice. Rice is giving 11.5, total 44.5. I project Rice by 4.5, total 52.5. I love the over 44.5 in this game. 3 o'clock, Coastal Carolina, Texas State. Coastal's giving 17.5, total 57.5. I project Coastal by 12.5, total 59. I'm taking Texas State plus the points. UL Lafayette at UL Monroe. Lafayette's laying 28.5, total 54.5. I project Lafayette by 24, total 52.5. I'm taking UL Monroe plus the 28. North Texas, UTSA. UTSA is giving 3.5, total 66.5. I actually project North Texas as a 6.5 point favorite, total 64. I'm taking North Texas plus the 3.5 and plus 134 on the money line. South Alabama, Arkansas State. Arkansas State's laying 7.5, total 64.5. I project Arkansas State by 10, total of 58.5. I am taking under 64.5. And that one, 3:30 FAU, Middle Tennessee. FAU is giving 6.5, total 48.5. I project FAU by 12.5, total of 45. I am laying the 6.5 with FAU. Northwestern, Michigan State. Northwestern's laying 12.5, total 41.5. I project Northwestern by 3.5, total of 44. I am taking Sparty plus 12.5. Pitt, Clemson. Clemson's laying 22.5, total of 55.5. I project Clemson by 16.5, total of 58.5. I'm taking Pitt plus the points. Auburn, Alabama. Alabama's laying a whopping 24.5, total of 62.5. I project Alabama by 7.5, total of 56.5. No Nick Saban. I'm taking Auburn plus the 24.5. Alabama will still win without Nick Saban, but I think that Auburn will cover the big number. Louisville, Boston College. Boston College is favored by a half point, total 55.5. I project Boston College by 6.5, total 53.5. I'm taking Boston College minus a half point. Mississippi State at Ole Miss. Ole Miss is laying 9.5, total of 68.5. I project Mississippi State as a half point favorite, total of 63. I'm taking the Bulldogs plus the 9.5 and plus 265 on the money line. Now we're in the 4 o'clock window, starting with that Louisville VC game. San Jose State, Boise State. Boise's laying 11.5, total of 58.5. I project Boise by 4.5, total of 53.5. I'm taking San Jose State plus the points. 7 o'clock, Duke, Georgia Tech. Duke's favored by a half, total of 57.5. I project Georgia Tech actually as a 5-point favorite, total of 59.5. I'm taking Georgia Tech plus the half and minus 108 on the money line. Kansas State, Baylor. Baylor's giving 5.5, total 45.5. I project Baylor by 4, total of 49.5. I'm taking over 45.5 in that one. LSU, Texas A&M. LSU is getting a whopping 15.5, total of 63.5. I project A&M as only a 4-point favorite, total of 16.5. I love LSU. getting all the points at Texas A&M. Memphis Navy. Memphis is laying 13.5, total of 62.5. I project Memphis by 1.5, total of 64. I'm taking Navy plus the 13.5. Georgia, South Carolina at 7:30. Georgia's laying 21.5, total of 49.5. I project Georgia by 13.5, total of 53.5. I'm taking South Carolina plus the points. Utah, Washington. Washington's laying 7.5, total of 48.5. I project Washington by 3, total of 51.5. I'm taking Utah plus a 7.5 for the podcast, but I also like over 48.5 as well. 8 o'clock, Arizona, UCLA. UCLA's laying 10.5, over under 69.5. I project Bruins by 4, total 67.5. I'm taking Arizona plus the points. TCU, Kansas. TCU's laying 23.5, total 51.5. I project TCU by 18, total 55.5. I'm taking over 51.5. Troy, App State. App State's laying 13.5, total 48.5. I project App State by 9, total 46.5. I'm taking Troy in the points. Virginia, Florida State. Virginia's laying 8.5, total 58.5. I project Florida State as a half-point favorite, total of 57. I'm taking FSU plus 8.5 and plus 260 on the money line. And last but not least, Nevada, Hawaii. Nevada's laying 6.5, total 60.5. I project Nevada by 7, total 55. I'm taking under 60.5 as my play in that game. So there you have it with college football. Now we'll recap college basketball from the last couple days. I'm not going to go through records. I'm just going to go through straight results from the past couple days. We'll start with Wednesday. Omaha over Middle Tennessee, 69-60. Number 8, Illinois over Chicago State, 97-38. Actually, no, that was yesterday. Whoops. Wednesday, here we go. Abilene Christian over East Tennessee State, 70-47. South Florida over Florida College, 94-84. James Madison over Limestone, 89-55. Nebraska over McNeese, 102-55. Navy over George Washington, 78-71. Virginia Tech over Radford, 77-62. Mount St. Mary's over Morgan State, 62-55. Xavier over Oakland, 101-49. New Hampshire over Keene State, 93-54. Georgia Southern over Florida National, 97-65. Miami of Ohio over North Dakota, 81-67. Mercer over North Georgia, 79-48. Little Rock over Prairie View, 71-66. Number 4, Virginia over Towson, 89-54. Number 8, Illinois over NCAT, 122-60. Number 23, Ohio State over Illinois State, 94-67. Chattanooga over Lander, 99-63. South Wesleyan upsets South Carolina Upstate, 82-72. App State over South Carolina State, 81-61. Maryland over Old Dominion, 85-67. Austin Peay over Omaha, 72-66. Providence over Fairfield, 97-56. Drake over Kansas State, 80-70. Memphis over St. Mary's, 73-56. Houston over Lamar, 89-45. Nevada over North Dakota State, 62-48. The Citadel over Piedmont, 89-64. Bradley over Toledo, 61-59. UAB over Alcorn State, 99-50. Number 5, Iowa over NC Central, 97-67. Number 25, Michigan over Bowling Green, 96-82. UMKC over Culver Stockton, 105-35. UMass Lowell over San Francisco, 76-68. Furman over Tusculum, 95-62. Georgetown over UMBC, 70-62. Wake over Delaware State, 111-51. Western Carolina over UNC Wilmington, 98-76. Oklahoma State over UT Arlington, 75-68. Kennesaw State over Carver, 87-40. Louisville over Evansville, 79-44. Quinnipiac over Fairleigh Dickinson, 84-66. Western Kentucky over Northern Iowa, 93-87. Ohio over Chicago State, 84-61. Pacific over UC Riverside, 66-60. Eastern Kentucky over Northern Florida, 80-67. Number 10, Kentucky over Morehead State, 81-45. Number 13, Michigan State over Eastern Michigan, 83-67. Number 16, North Carolina over Charleston, 79-60. Northern Kentucky over Ball State, 74-73. Fresno over William Jessup, 87-47. Butler over Western Michigan, 66-62. Purdue over Liberty, 77-64. Wofford over Toccoa Falls, 88-49. Army over Mercant Marine, 93-32. North Alabama over Oakwood, 98-74. Pepperdine over UC Irvine, 86-72. Number 14, Texas Tech over Northwestern State, 101-58. Number 15, West Virginia over South Dakota State, 79-71. Number 18, Arizona State over Rhode Island, 94-88. Number 24, Rutgers over Sacred Heart, 86-63. FIU over Flagler, 85-81. Oregon State over Cal, 71-63. Cal State Northridge over Westmont, 97-79. Jacksonville over Coastal Georgia, 99-57. UTEP over Texas, Perm Basin, 181. Minnesota over Green Bay, 99-69. Alon over North Carolina Wesleyan, 82-52. VMI over St. Andrews, 90-63. South Alabama over FAU, 68-66. San Fran over Pitt, 80-70. Purdue Fort Wayne over Southeast Louisiana, 67-63 in overtime. Texas State over Mary Har, 98-59. Davidson over High Point, 82-73. Florida Gulf Coast over Florida A&M, 65-56. Santa Clara over Idaho State, 62-49. Missouri over Oral Roberts, 91-64. UIC over Northern Illinois, 65-61. St. John's over St. Peter's, 76-75. St. Louis over SIU Edwardsville, 89-52. Arkansas over Mississippi Valley State, 142-62. Number 19, Texas over Texas Rio Grande, 90-55. Tarleton over Dallas Christian, 103-48. NC State over Charleston Southern, 95-61. Loyola Marymount over Southern Utah, 85-83. SMU over SMU over Sam Houston State, 97-67. Indiana over Tennessee Tech, 89-59. Alabama over Jacksonville State, 81-57. Colorado over South Dakota, 84-61. TCU over Houston Baptist, 69-45. UConn over Central Connecticut State, 102-75. BYU over Westminster, Utah, 108-59. Clemson over Mississippi State, 53-42. A&M Corpus Christi over A&M International, 64-53. Grand Canyon over Grambling, 69-53. Weber State over Adams State, 88-60. USC over Cal Baptist, 95-87 in overtime. Georgia State over Georgia Tech, 123-120 in quadruple overtime. VCU over Utah State, 85-69. Montana State over UNLV, 91-78. Number 3, Villanova over Boston College, 76-67. Number 7, Wisconsin over Eastern Illinois, 77-67. Nichols over UC Davis, 101-93. Marquette over Arkansas Pine Bluff, 99-57. Sacramento State over Bethesda, 101-57. San Diego State upsets number 22 UCLA, 73-58. Seattle over Portland, 84-72. And Washington State over Texas Southern, 56-52. Yesterday, we went over the first two with Omaha over Middle Tennessee, 60-59. And number 8 Illinois over Chicago State, 97-38. Xavier over Bradley, 51-50. Western Kentucky over Memphis, 75-69. Number 1 Gonzaga over Kansas, 102-90. Nebraska over Nevada, 69-66. Austin Peay over East Tennessee State, 67-66. St. John's over LaSalle, 82-65. Number 15 West Virginia over VCU, 78-66. Ohio over NC A&T, 84-72. Toledo over Oakland, 80-53. San Francisco over Towson, 79-68. NC Central over Southern, 85-78 in overtime. Auburn over St. Joe's, 96-91 in overtime. Belmont over Howard, 95-78. St. Mary's over Northern Iowa, 66-64. Cal over Northwest Washington, 86-61. Liberty over Mississippi State, 84-73. Boston College over Rhode Island, 69-64. LSU over SIU Edwardsville, 94-81. George Mason over Queens, North Carolina, 66-65. North Texas over Mississippi Valley State, 116-62. South Dakota State over Utah State, 83-59. Purdue loses to Clemson, 80-70, or 81-70. BYU over New Orleans, 86-61. And last but not least, number 3 Villanova over number 18 Arizona State, 83-74. A lot of games today. It should be a fun day of college basketball. And I'm certainly looking forward to it. First up, Auburn Gonzaga. Gonzaga's laying 16.5, total 162.5. I project Gonzaga as a 22.5 point favorite, so I'm going to lay the 16.5 with Gonzaga. Middle Tennessee and East Tennessee State is off the board at the moment. I project East Tennessee State by 9.5, and the total is 139.5. So I have to go with the total, so I guess I'll go with the over. Virginia, San Francisco, I have Virginia projected by 20. They're favored by 13.5. Total 125.5. I'm going to take Virginia minus the 13.5. Norfolk State, James Madison. I project Norfolk by 14. Norfolk is a 1.5 point dog, so I'm taking Norfolk plus the 1.5 to win outright. South Dakota against Drake. That game is on my screen here. South Dakota State and Drake. I think that's a game that I had on the bottom of my list. Yeah. Hang on here. Yes, so either ESPN has the game wrong or FanDuel has the game wrong. I project Drake by 6 and they're favored by 7.5, so I'm taking South Dakota. Next up, Toledo Xavier. I project Xavier by 1.5. And they're favored by 10.5, so I'm taking Toledo and all the points. Next up is Evansville Prairie View A&M. That's a 1 o'clock game. I project Prairie View by Evansville by 7.5, and Prairie View is a 1.5 point favorite, so I'm taking Evansville plus the points to win the game outright. Ohio and Illinois, the line's not up yet. Total 145.5. I'll take the over there. Jacksonville State and Florida Atlantic. FAU's favored by 5.5. I project Jacksonville State by 8.5. So I'm taking the underdog 5.5 and then plus 190 on the money line. I think they win the game outright. Western Carolina, Troy, I project Western Carolina by 12.5 and they're 8.5, so I'm going to lay the points there. Abilene Christian, Austin P. I have projected by 5. The line's not up yet, 143.5. I'll take the over. Belmont, George Mason. Belmont's favored by 3.5. I have for Belmont projected 15.5, so I'm going to lay that with Belmont. That's layup. Lamar, Tulane, I project Lamar actually by 1.5, and Tulane's giving 7.5. I'll take Lamar plus a 7.5 and plus 270 on the money line. Rice and Incarnate Word. I have Rice by 13. Rice is giving 5. I'll lay the 5.5 with Rice. Sam Houston State and Texas Tech. I have Texas Tech projected by 25.5. They're favored by 30.5. I'll take Sam Houston State. St. Joe's and Kansas, no line. Total is 156.5. I'll take the over. And by the way, I'd make Kansas a favorite in this game by 31.5. 3 o'clock, Boise State, Houston. I project Houston in this game by 3.5, and they're favored by 11.5. I'll take Boise State plus the points. Bryant, Syracuse. Syracuse is favored by 22.5. I project Syracuse by 30.5, so I'll lay the 22.5 with Syracuse. Navy, Maryland. Maryland's favored by 16.5. I project Maryland by 7, so I'll take Navy plus all those points. Oakland and Bradley, totals 137.5. Line's not out yet. By the way, I'd make Bradley 29. And I'll take the... Ooh, that's a tough one. I'll go over. I don't feel great about it. UCLA, Pepperdine. UCLA's giving 7.5. I project UCLA by 10.5, so I'll lay the 10.5 with UCLA. UNC Asheville, UNC Wilmington. Asheville, I project as a 6-point favorite. They're favored by 6.5. I project them 11.5, so I'm going to lay the 6.5 there. Buffalo, Towson, no line. Total 44.5. I would project Buffalo in this game by 5.5. I'll take the over there too. 5 o'clock, Grambling State, Arizona. Arizona's favored by 26.5. I'd make Arizona 24.5. So Grambling does have a little bit of juice to them. Southern and Iowa. Iowa's favored by 25.5. That's what I would make it. Total's 149.5. I would take the over. North Florida, North Carolina State. North Carolina State's favored by 19.5. I'd make NC State by 20.5, so I laid the points there. Morehead State, Richmond at 6 o'clock. I project Richmond to be favored in this game by 19. They're favored by 20.5. So I take Morehead plus the points. Tennessee State and Marshall. Marshall's favored by 13.5. I project Marshall by 19, so I lay the points with Marshall and feel pretty decent about it. UC Irvine, San Diego State. San Diego State's laying 13.5. I project San Diego State in this game by 8.5. So I take UC Irvine plus the points in that one. Fairleigh Dickinson and number 24 Rutgers. Rutgers is a 22-point favorite. I project them only by 12, so I'll take the NEC favorite, Fairleigh Dickinson, plus the points, although I do expect Rutgers to win. And by the way, I forgot Rutgers football against Purdue while we're at it with Rutgers. I project Purdue by 7.5, total 58.5. I'm switching back to college football for a second because I forgot to pick a game. And by the way, Purdue is favored against Rutgers by 12. So I'll take Rutgers plus the points, and I think that Purdue will probably win the game, but not cover. So next up in college basketball, back to college basketball, Longwood and Wake. Wake's favored by 18.5. I project Wake Forest by, where's that line? I project Wake Forest by 16.5. So I'll take Longwood plus the points. Nichols and Idaho State. Nichols is favored by 5.5. I project Nichols by 25.5. So give me Nichols. That's a steal. UNC Greensboro, Arkansas Little Rock. UNC Greensboro is favored by 2.5. I project Greensboro by 4. So I'm going to lay the small number with Greensboro, Valpo, and Vandy. Vandy's favored by 5.5. Meanwhile, I'll make Vandy 5. That's too close. So I'm going to go with the total. I would take Valpo plus the points, but it's too close of a call. So I would go over 143.5 of Valpo. Vandy, 7:30 Eastern, Illinois at Marquette. Marquette's favored by 14.5. I'd make Marquette by 11.5. So I'd take Eastern plus the points. UT Arlington, UT Arlington, Louisiana Tech. Louisiana Tech's giving 5.5. I project La Tech by 2.5. So I'm taking UT Arlington plus the points. 8 o'clock Hartford, UConn. UConn's favored by 21.5. I'd make UConn 36. So I'm laying it with UConn. Mercer, Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech's favored by 13.5. I'd make Georgia Tech 6.5. So I take the points at Mercer. Colorado, Kansas State. Colorado's giving 6.5. And I project Colorado by 2, so I'm taking Kansas State plus the points. 9 o'clock, Arkansas, Pine Bluff, Wisconsin. Wisconsin's favored by whopping 33.5. I projected 55.5, so I'm laying it with Wisconsin with the big number. And last but not least for tonight, Fresno State, Pacific. Pacific's favored by 4.5. Meanwhile, I'd make I have that line somewhere. There it is. I'd make Fresno 5.5. So I'm taking Fresno plus the points and plus 160 on the money line. Saturday's college basketball slate I'm going to go over really quickly. Not a big one because college football rules the day. UMass Lowell, Illinois State, Loyola Marymount, Minnesota. 11 o'clock. Oh, those two games I just listed, by the way, were to be determined times. 11 o'clock a.m., Omaha, Abilene Christian. 12 o'clock, Belmont, Queens, North Carolina. North Dakota State, Nebraska. South Carolina State, Bowling Green. 1 o'clock, VMI, Penn State. Drexel, Pitt. Limestone, Charleston. Troy, UNC, Wilmington. 2 o'clock, Coppin State, number 9, Duke. Southern Miss, Jacksonville. Our Lady, Rice. Mobile, FAU. Alcorn, Kent State. SC Upstate, Furman. Fairfield, Stony Brook. Carver, Wofford. Bowie State, Morgan State. Northern Kentucky, Chattanooga. 3 o'clock, Greenville, Southeast Missouri State. Regis University, Denver. William Jessup, Portland. St. Catherine, Southern Utah. UMBC, St. Fran, Pennsylvania. Navy, Mount St. Mary's. George Mason, Howard. Southeast Louisiana, UAB, Texas State, Texas A&M Corpus Christi, LSU St. Louis, Army Buffalo, 4 o'clock NC Wesleyans, Coastal Carolina, Coastal Georgia, Georgia Southern, Northwestern State, UT Arlington, High Point Alon, Mississippi Valley State, Wyoming, Idaho State, UC Davis, UTSA, UT Rio Grande, Western Carolina, UNC Asheville, Toccoa Falls, Kennesaw State, South Carolina Liberty, Weber State, Dixie State, Cal State Northridge Air Force at 5, Montana, USC, Lamar, Lipscomb, 5:30 Rhode Island, South Florida, 6 o'clock North Texas, Arkansas, 7 o'clock Little Rock, Western Kentucky, Howard Payne, Tarleton, Trinity International, UIC, Norfolk, Radford, Nichols, Santa Clara, Little Rock, Western Kentucky, William and Mary, Old Dominion, 7:30 Texas Southern, Oklahoma State, Tulsa, TCU, 8 o'clock Notre Dame at number 13 Michigan State, Park University, Grand Canyon, Ecclesia, Missouri State, Rogers State, Oral Roberts, Kentucky Wesleyan, Murray State, 8:30 UHSP St. Louis at SIU Edwardsville, 9 o'clock Utah Valley, BYU, and 11 o'clock Eastern Washington at Washington State. Sunday, TBD, North Dakota State, Loyola Marymount, 12 o'clock Southeast Missouri State, UMKC, 1 o'clock ESPN Richmond at number 10 Kentucky, Gannon and Niagara, a TBD game at the Hall of Fame Classic on ESPN2 at 1 o'clock, Arkansas Pine Bluff at Iowa State, 2 o'clock Florida A&M, Georgia, Boise State, Sam Houston State, St. Andrews, Campbell, Lipscomb, Tulane, Our Lady Incarnate Word, Fairfield, Sacred Heart, Mount St. Mary's, Maryland, Northwestern Louisiana Tech, 3 o'clock Freed Hardman, Northern Alabama, New Orleans, Texas A&M, Northwest Washington, Portland, Alabama A&M, Sanford, TBDs on ESPN2 at the Hall of Fame Classic, 4 o'clock Houston Baptist at number 18 Arizona State, UMass Lowell at number 23 Ohio State, Hofstra at number 24 Rutgers, 5 o'clock Greenville, Murray State, Air Force Seattle, Jacksonville State, South Alabama, 5:30 ESPN2, number 17 Houston at number 14 Texas Tech, that's a good game, ESPNU, San Francisco, Rhode Island, 6 o'clock Big Ten Network, Oakland at number 25 Michigan, UTEP, Arizona, North Florida, Miami, Prairie View, Louisville, St. Catherine, UCSB at 7 o'clock, Radford, James Madison, 8 o'clock ESPN2, Air Force Basketball Hall of Fame, South Florida, Virginia Tech, and at 8:30 Winthrop against UNC Greensboro. So there you have it for college basketball for the weekend. Okay, since I have time, I'm going to discuss the Ravens coronavirus outbreak. Obviously, the big news of yesterday is that Lamar Jackson was one of the 4 new players that tested positive for COVID-19 from the Ravens. As things stand right now, the game is still scheduled to be played on Sunday at 1:15 at NBC. The game was moved from Thursday night at 8:20 on NBC to 1:15 on NBC. I think for sure that game's getting moved to either Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday in prime time on NBC. Hopefully Lamar Jackson and the rest of the Ravens that have tested positive get well soon and stay well. If this game is played Monday or Tuesday, RG3 in all likelihood would be under center against the undefeated Pittsburgh Steelers. Obviously, J.K. Dobbins was positive. Mark Ingram was positive. I think the long snapper was positive as well. So it is a bit of an outbreak. I think there's at least 15 cases between staff and players. This is our biggest COVID outbreak in the NFL since the Titans won back in week 4 or week 5, and they were off for a week and a half. So we'll see what happens. I think this game will still happen, but more likely Monday, Tuesday, because the earliest that their facility can reopen is Monday morning with all these positives. And if it does, then maybe they'll play Tuesday or Wednesday at night on NBC. And that would be a pretty cool weeknight primetime game between division rivals Steelers and Ravens. Although without Lamar Jackson, likelihood in RG3, the man under center. So any updates on this we will provide on Monday's podcast, obviously. Now we'll recap last night's episode of The Masked Singer. It was pretty good. It was the Group C final. The top 2 went to the Super 6 and the loser went home. The guest panelist was Jay Farrow. And first they did a group performance to I Want You Back by the Jackson 5. First up was Jellyfish. There are numbers and a calculator. The number 57714 was the big clue. There was an office. There was tic-tac-toe, overachiever. There was a lounge. And the song she performed was Don't Stop Now or Don't Start Now by Dua Lipa. I still think this is Joey King. I talked about it on the last couple shows that it sounds a lot like her, and there's a lot of clues that hinted towards her, just like the bottle clue, which was the special clue of the week, the big giveaway, and she hinted that she's never performed on a stage like this setting before, and that makes me think that this is indeed the Kissing Booth star, Joey King. Nicole Scherzinger went with Charlie XCS. Jay Farrell went with Kylie Jenner, and Jenny went with gymnast Michaela Maroney. The Mushroom. There was a doll. There was an alarm. There was a boxing rink. GPA of 4.0. There was a phone. And the performer performed Unconditionally by Katy Perry. My guess for this is Taye Diggs. There's a lot of hints towards Taye Diggs. And the hint that they gave away was that this person had a name change. And if I'm not mistaken, Taye Diggs had a name change. That's who Nicole Scherzinger went with. Robin Thicke went with Jaden Smith. And Ken Jeong had a ridiculous guess of The Weeknd. The last performer was Broccoli. They hinted at being a showman, a circus. There was a mask. You're getting Vegas vibes. There was a beetle. There are 5 Beatles, so that was a big hint towards that this person had crossed paths with the Beatles. This person hinted at being a perfectionist. There was dye in there. The song he performed was Old Time Rock and Roll by Bob Seger, and the big bottle hint was that broccoli was invented after his birth. So obviously this is somebody that was older. I went with Martin Short because there was a lot of Italian clues, and this person wasn't that great of a singer, and he sounded older. So I went with the big name and Martin Short. Jay went with Al Roger, Ken Jeong went with Ringo Starr, and Robin went with Paul Anka. Then came the SmackDown. It was announced that Jellyfish had moved on to the Super 6. The SmackDown was Mushroom against Broccoli. Broccoli performed Take Me Down by Alabama. Mushroom performed A Song for You by Donna Hathaway. Who survived? Mushroom, as Mushroom went to the Super 6 to join Jellyfish, Sun, Popcorn, Seahorse, and Crocodile. So that is a really, really solid Super 6. Broccoli went home. My first impression guess was RuPaul. Or I'm sorry, not RuPaul. That was my first impression guess for another character. My first impression guess was actually Brett Favre, believe it or not. So that's actually pretty funny. But yeah, that was my mistake of writing down the wrong name for the first impression guess. So yeah, my Broccoli first impression guess was Brett Favre, the former Packers quarterback. And my final guess was Martin Short. Nicole Scherzinger's first impression was Bill Murray. Her final was Wayne Newton. Ken Jeong's first impression was Martin Short. His final was Ringo Starr. Robin's first impression was Bob Newhart. His final was Paul Anka. Jenny's first impression was Jerry Springer, and her final was Neil Shanka. Jay's final guess was Paul Simon. And who was it? Paul Anka, as Robin got it correct. There is a big hint in there referring to My Way, and there was a number hint in one of the clue packages that spelled out Frank, and obviously Frank Sinatra wrote My Way, so that was a big clue that Robin got figured out. And there was a lot of Italian and Canadian clues, and Paul Anka is Italian and he's Canadian, so there you have it, Paul Anka, the Broccoli. And obviously next week starts the Super 6 with Crocodile, Jellyfish, Seahorse, Mushroom, Sun, and who am I missing in the Super 6 that's really good? Oh, Popcorn. So it should be a fun episode next Wednesday, and obviously we'll preview it on Wednesday's podcast. Now I'm going to go through my Turkey 20, or the rest of the Turkey 20, and then my best bet. So we'll start actually in college football for the Turkey 20. So today, Iowa State plus the half or money line against Texas. I just think Iowa State's the better team, and they have the better coach in Matt Campbell. Nebraska plus 14.5 against Iowa. I just think that's too many points in a Big Ten rivalry game. Iowa overvalued. Central Michigan, Eastern Michigan over 59.5. I think that's a low total for Central Michigan in that offense. UNLV plus 15.5 against, oh my God, I'm blanking. Wyoming. I just think that's too many points in a conference game. And my least favorite of perhaps the whole Turkey 20, Oregon State, Oregon under 64.5. I just think Oregon's defense has improved, and they'll stop Oregon State enough. 6 for Saturday, Maryland plus 11.5 against Indiana. I love this Maryland team. I love Taulia Tagovailoa. He'll keep them in the game. Oklahoma State minus 10.5 against Texas Tech. I think that they'll roll there in a bounce-back spot. Boston College pick them against Louisville. I just think Boston College at home will perform. Mississippi State plus 9.5 against Ole Miss in the Egg Bowl. I just think that that's a close game, and that's always a close game. LSU plus 15.5 against Texas A&M. Too many points for the reigning champions. I think that A&M wins, but LSU covers. And last but not least, North Texas plus 3.5. And it's also my moneyline pick of the week at plus 134. I think the wrong team is favored. I think North Texas should be favored over UTSA, and I think that not only will they cover 3.5, and I think they'll win the game outright pretty easily. So plus 134 on the money line as well. And the rest of the Turkey 20 for the weekend, I'm going to go with the Vikings minus 3.5 against the Panthers. I think that there's a chance Teddy Bridgewater doesn't play again, and it'll be P.J. Walker under center. And I think this is a bounce-back spot for Kirk Cousins and the Minnesota Vikings. Browns minus 6.5 against the Jaguars. Mike Lennon starting at quarterback, but still the Jaguars are obviously tanking for Trevor Lawrence and Justin Fields at this point. So minus 6.5 for the Browns. And maybe the Gardner Minshew injury is fake. You never know. I don't think it is, but I just think it's odd that we haven't heard anything lately. Chargers plus 4.5 against the Bills. I love this pick. The Chargers are, this feels like a very close game that the Chargers will find the way to lose. Broncos plus 6 against the Saints. I think this is a trap game for Taysom Hill and the Saints, and I think that Denver will follow up their home win with another home win. Or this could be a letdown spot for the Broncos too, but I think the Saints are looking ahead more so than the Broncos letdown. And the Rams minus 6 against the 49ers. Too many injuries for San Francisco that I don't see them being competitive here with the Rams. This is kind of low for me, so I'm going to lay the 6 with the Rams against the 49ers. And then your last play of the Turkey 20 will come to you on Monday. And last but not least, my best bet of the day, brought to you by FanDuel. I'm going to go with college basketball on this one. I am going to take as my best bet pick of the day. Let's go with, I'm undecided between two. I'm going to go with Gonzaga minus the 16.5 against Auburn. I project Gonzaga by 22.5. And I just wanted to go with like a bigger brand program for best bet for today. So Gonzaga minus 16.5 against Auburn for best bet. So there you have it, best bet and the Turkey 20 with the exception of one. The last leg of the Turkey 20 we'll find out on Monday, as well as the podcast will go over all the results from NFL, college football, and college basketball from the weekend and looking ahead to Monday night's games in each of those three sports. And you'll get my best bet from you as well as any other news related in sports and the Ravens COVID situation as well. Hope you guys have a wonderful weekend, everyone.